Why is it always that the super technical ones lack in musicality and the super musical ones lack in technicality? While the roster of competitors are truly one of the most brilliant piano players for this age group worldwide at this current time, I feel like there's been a change in the standard of performance in the past two editions. What I mean by this is, for example, in 2005, there was a clear cut winner right from the get go. In 2010, there were at least four pianists who could have taken the first prize. Take it back to even older editions where the majority of winners won because their playing was transformative and redefined what it was like to play Chopin. To win first prize in this competition means something. Politics and conspiracy theories aside, I feel like the winner of the competition, in theory, is the chosen one, a prophet of Chopin, someone who's capable of representing the music of Chopin and spread it east and west. This is why some editions didn't even award first prize, even though Alexei Sultanov is on the Mount Rushmore of greatest pianists to ever walk this earth. The standard here isn't just mastery, it's transcendence. Yes, this is the most prestigious piano competition in the world, but let's not forget, it's not a competition about who's the best pianist. It's a competition about who's the best Chopin pianist. So, in all honesty, ask yourselves, have we seen this mythical chosen one so far? Personally, and amongst my group of pianist friends, we still didn't feel that in our bones yet. However, some are close, very close, with the potential to fill that role of prophet of Chopin. And round two was revelatory. Some great artists in round one were elevated to an even greater level, and some of the lesser artists, with all due respect, were exposed. As expected, there were some surprise eliminations from round one. Diana Cooper, Mao, Alberto Ferro. I'd understand why they'd be eliminated if the rest of their cohorts were at a much higher caliber. Yet, there were many questionable choices of pianists who slipped through the cracks into round two. Keep in mind, the rules have changed this year. Every round now counts when choosing a winner, so consistency is now key. Anywho, in no particular order, let's get to reviewing the standout performances from round two. Starting with Yanyan Bao. I really loved Yanyan's performance in the prelims, but I felt like she wasn't 100% in the first round. I hear that she was sick, so I had my fingers crossed hoping she'd make it, and thankfully she did, because she truly shined in round two. Yanyan plays with a remarkably rich and noble singing line. She lets the music breathe, and her sound lingers in the air like a decaying fragrance. Listen to her Opus 28 number 15 for reference. While on the topic of Opus 28, she handles the 16th prelude with incredible depth, unlike the common approach of treating it like a botched journey etude. Just listen to how her left hand is fully animated and alive. The harmony is full and colorful, without sacrificing any intensity or depth in the right hand madness. She perhaps has one of the best left hands I've heard this competition. Her choice of the two Opus 26 polonaises was not only refreshing, but a signal to the world that she has full mastery over the lesser known Chopin pieces, and she perhaps is a worthy prophet. The waltz in A minor could easily be a reference recording, played with extreme dynamic sensitivity and, dare I say, passion. By the time I reached her final performance, the fourth ballad, I was already intoxicated by the magic of her sound. The whole piece just flows so smoothly, the dynamics waxing and waning so naturally and with such nuance. Her entire program is CD ready. Let's hope she makes it to round three in the finals, because I want more, please. Moving on to Tianyao Lyu, one of my favorite competitors to listen to. This is the successor to Yu Wang. She's such a natural performer. Her playing is simply electrifying. Her program was also insane. The Andante Spianato e Gran Polonaise positively sparkled. Joy, breadth, virtuosity, all held in balance. The dynamic mastery in the 20th prelude makes me yearn to hear her play the second sonata. Then her Opus 2 variation surprised. She didn't just run the notes, she interpolated personality, color changes, inside phrasing you rarely hear. Tianyao shows you who she is in her playing, a 16-year-old girl. And that kind of transparency and honesty in her playing is what makes me appreciate the art of her performance. Then there's Kaiman Chang with a solid round 2. Chang's style is well balanced and highly reliable. His sound represents the masculine side of Chopin. The choice of program was quite bold and worked very well in his favor, I think. When I first saw that he was playing the first sonata, I thought it was some cheesy gimmick replication of Bruce Liu's Chopin Mozart variations. But it actually worked quite well, and again he signals that he's capable of playing and understanding the niche works of Chopin just as well as the mainstream ones. The heroic polonaise that followed was also a great contrast in going from an early Chopin to a later work. Although he doesn't trinkle, click here if you don't know what I'm talking about, he played the polonaise with such heroic gusto. I think he's a safe choice for round 3. Then there's Kevin Chen, a bit of a divisive one, this one. If this was a best technical piano player competition, then give him the award already and end this. But it's not. Well, at least it's not supposed to be. Or perhaps this is what it means to be a prophet of Chopin in 2025. Chen's program was ridiculously insane. The entirety of Opus 10 and played flawlessly for that matter. Such an incredible feat. The Opus 10 number 2 was jaw-dropping. I've never seen it played with such fluidity at such a speed. But as impressive as his performance was, many people, myself included, felt that it was lacking in, dare I say, emotion. It's not like we have an issue with speed. My favorite living pianist is Martha, the queen of speed. But in the case of Martha, speed is a facade, beneath which is a microcosm of nuance and poetry. His perfection is thrilling, but in a competition about prophecy, we want glimpses of humanity within that machine. He secures jury regard by strength of execution. Whether he can evoke something deeper is a question. He's locked in the final, but can he win it with this approach? Moving on to Piotr Pawlak. Many of you fine folk flagged Pawlak's brilliant performance in round 1, and indeed, what a revelation. Pawlak was absolutely world class in both rounds. He played with life. Moments of aggression, moments of beauty. His sound is full, expressive, and suited to Chopin's drama. The kawaii piano suited him. He coaxed tone out of it you didn't expect. I see him slipping into the finals if he keeps tightening the edges. His program was fantastic. Perhaps he may be responsible for putting the Allegro de Concert on the map. Then there's Xuehong Chen. He went unnoticed in round 1, but I think the fact that he had to follow Kevin Chen simply highlighted the immense warmth of his sound. Both used the same Steinway, by the way. His program was quite intense, opening with a barcarolle, which he plays with such beauty, followed by the Opus 28 Preludes from 1924, throwing in the Opus 45 C-sharp minor prelude as well, the G minor ballad, which was quite original, while still being no-nonsense straightforward, and ending with the Opus 53 Heroic Polonaise, which he unfortunately doesn't trinkle. He does make some minor mistakes here and there, but what could help him advance is just the way he's able to extract color and his peculiar phrasing. When technical precision is imperfect, but the artistry is undeniable, he won hearts. Then there was Vincent Ong, another delightful revelation and a total powerhouse. His sound is inversely proportional to his size, massive and commanding without ever feeling forced. There's a roundness to his tone, a kind of orchestral bloom that fills the hall. His sense of rhythm is rock solid, but what really caught me off guard was the elasticity of his phrasing, those micro-roboti that make even the simplest melodic turns feel alive. The left hand in particular speaks like an independent instrument, giving his texture real depth. He also possesses something that's become increasingly rare in this competition: spontaneity. You can feel him listening to himself as he plays, reacting to the sound in the moment, not reproducing a rehearsed script. The only risk with Ong is endurance. Can he sustain that level of physical and emotional intensity across multiple rounds? But if he keeps channeling this mixture of power and control, we might be watching the rise of a serious dark horse. Moving on to Hyuk Lee. Hyuk's round 2 performance solidified what many of us already suspected. He's a contender not just for the finals, but possibly for the title. His rendition of the B-flat minor sonata was a masterclass in architecture and pacing. The tension he builds in the scherzo and the way he controls the melodic line, it all points to a pianist with extraordinary structural sense. Then there is the finale. That perpetual motion storm of a movement, often reduced to a blur of notes by others, became in his hands something spectral and tragic. It was haunting and ferocious at once, yet what's astonishing is how clearly he's exposed the inner voices amid the chaos. The balance between left-hand drive and right-hand shimmer was impeccable. There's nothing showy or self-conscious about Hyuk. His artistry lies in the precision of his control and the clarity of his intention. If Kevin Chen is the epitome of machine-like perfection, Hyuk is the embodiment of the human mind. Analytical, expressive, but grounded. Then there's Hyo Lee, distinct from his more famous brother. Hyo brings a different sensibility to the keyboard. His sound is polished and crystalline, less about muscularity and more about elegance. There's a sense of calm authority in his playing, as if he knows exactly where every phrase is heading before he begins. What really sets him apart is his attention to line contour. He sculpts melodies with a singer's phrasing, each arc carefully shaped but never mannered. You can tell he's enjoying himself on stage. There's a quiet confidence in the way he attacks runs and a relaxed wrist motion that makes even the hardest passages look effortless. His harmonic sense is strong, inner voice is always alive, never submerged. He may not go for the emotional jugular, but his poise, consistency, and refined ear make him one of the most dependable competitors this year. Then there's Kwonwook Lee. Kwonwook's playing feels more traditional, tasteful, proportionate, and structurally sound. He doesn't need to rely on theatrics or exaggerated dynamics to make his point. His voicing is immaculate, and his pedaling shows genuine understanding of the piano's resonance. Each harmony breathes without blurring. His transitions are seamless, never jerky, and his tonal palette, though restrained, always sings. In a competition filled with flashy interpretations and overwrought gestures, Kwonwook's restraint feels almost radical. It reminds us that Chopin doesn't need exaggeration to sound good. He needs honesty, balance, and control. Lee delivers all three with consistency. His playing might not spark viral reactions online, but in the hall, it commands respect. Then there's Shiori Kuwahara. Kuwahara continues to mesmerize. Sound. Pure sound. Her round 2 performance has become one of the most viewed and discussed of the competition, and for good reason. Her tone is magnificent, her touch velvety yet powerful. She understands space, knowing when to let silence speak and when to let the tone bloom. Her dynamics breathe naturally without a hint of calculation. What truly distinguishes her is the unity of vision. Every piece in her program feels part of a larger narrative, as though she's building a story about Chopin's inner world. The clarity of her polyphony, her subtle shifts of pedaling to create harmonic glow, her perfect balance between restraint and passion. It's the kind of artistry that transcends competition. At this point, she's not just a favorite, she's redefining what it means to play Chopin with maturity and imagination. Then there's Eric Liu. Eric's round 2 was a significant improvement from round 1. Gone was the hesitation. This was a much more settled, confident performance. His sound regained that deep, glowing resonance that once made him unforgettable. You can sense that he's found a better equilibrium between reflection and projection. His phrasing breathes again, his rubato feels organic, not overly sculpted. There's still a touch of tension in his playing, perhaps the weight of expectation, but when he relaxes, his tone blossoms. The lyrical lyrical passages sing with an unforced beauty. The rhythmic drive feels spontaneous. It's clear he's fighting not just the competition, but himself, the ghost of his 2015 self. This round proved he's not here for nostalgia. He's here to remind everyone why he belongs among the greats. Moving on to Hao Rao. Hao Rao's second round performance felt like liberation. Compared to his 2021 appearance, there's a newfound freedom in his phrasing and an expressive daring that's thrilling to watch. His sound is broad, luminous, capable of both tenderness and bite. The phrasing flows naturally, with tiny inflections that show a composer's ear at work. He's not afraid to take risks. There are moments where the phrasing feels stretched to its limits. Sometimes it pays off gloriously, sometimes it costs him accuracy. But that's the price of authenticity. The beauty of Hao's playing lies in its individuality. You can't mistake it for anyone else's. He's still refining balance between freedom and control, but when it clicks, the results are stunning. Then there's Yehuda Prokopowicz. He might be the most idiosyncratic player of this round. His tone is distinctive, slightly dry but full of personality, and his rhythmic sense, while unpredictable, keeps you constantly engaged. His rubato isn't romanticized, it's conversational. There's something about his articulation, crisp yet flexible, that suggests a pianist who's not afraid to deconstruct Chopin from within. Not everyone will love his approach. Some might find it eccentric, but I find it refreshing. He refuses to blend into the mold, and in a competition that can often reward conformity, that courage stands out. If he can balance freedom with polish, his individuality could carry him surprisingly far. Then there's Kałduński. Kałduński's playing radiates elegance. He doesn't overwhelm, he envelops. His touch is refined, and his sound control is superb, always balanced between strength and air. His sense of timing is what sets him apart. He lets attention build naturally, without theatrics, and resolves it with grace. His polonaise was both grand and grounded, a perfect demonstration of rhythmic nobility. He trinkles, yes, but it's never superficial. His voicing of the left-hand octaves maintained clarity throughout, giving the piece its proper dance weight. The occasional slip might worry him, but to my ears, they only reminded me that real music making still involves risk. Then there's David Khrikuli. Khrikuli continues his trajectory from round one, confident, emotional, and profoundly human. His playing carries weight, both physically and psychologically. He brings a deep sense of introspection to every phrase, never rushing through the emotional content. The tone is rich, the timing impeccable. His crescendos feel inevitable, his decrescendos tender. What I admire most is his sense of pathos, that fine balance between intensity and restraint. He doesn't indulge, yet you feel the pain and longing in every gesture. There is maturity beyond his years here, a direct line to the romantic soul of Chopin. If the competition truly rewards sincerity over perfection, Khrikuli deserves to advance far. Then there is Anthony Ratinov. Ratinov remains the picture of polish. His playing is clean, consistent, and structured with logic. There's a modern sensibility to Chopin, clarity of texture, attention to symmetry, and deliberate pacing. His dynamic range is wide but disciplined, and he rarely lets excitement distort line integrity. Still, I can't help wishing he could take more risks. Everything's in place, yet sometimes it feels too carefully in place. There are glimpses, especially in his lyrical moments, of a deeply sensitive musician waiting to burst through the framework. If he can find the courage to just let go a little, he could evolve from reliable to remarkable. Then there's a name that no one talks about, Yubo Deng. His round 2 performance was one of the most musically intelligent of the lot. His phrasing has logic. He connects motifs like a composer, not just a performer. His articulation is precise yet expressive, and his use of pedal shows an astonishing awareness of harmonic color. What struck me the most was his preludes. He doesn't treat them as miniatures, but as interconnected emotional vignettes and continuous narrative arc. The control of tone, especially in soft dynamics, is remarkable. He never overplays, instead he draws you in. Also, the middle section of the F-sharp minor polonaise, which many pianists don't seem to understand, was quite revelatory. Deng might not have the flashiest presence, but his intellect, sensitivity, and poetic refinement give his performance remarkable staying power. Then I have to say something about Miyu Shindo. In her round 2 recital, she brought a rare combination of elegance and daring. What I found most striking was her control and silence. Notes decay as if painting sound into the air. Then she lets them fade just long enough for you to miss them before she returns. Her voicing is unconventional, and her melodies often rise in the texture in ways you don't expect. They emerge out of the accompaniment, not just buried beneath it. In more exposed passages, she doesn't throttle back. She sustains clarity even when she softens, which is brutal to execute. Her phrasing breathes without desperation, and her harmonic shading shows a pianist not content to rest in convention. Also, possibly the best heroic polonaise this year. Most certainly the most exquisite trinkle, and the execution of that trinkle alone is enough to make me fall in love with her artistry. In short, she's not safe, she's not predictable, and that makes her one of the most memorable presences in this edition so far. Then there's Gabriel Strata. Strata doesn't just perform Chopin, he bends it to his own idiosyncratic logic. You'll hear phrasing that surprises, timing that detours, colors that aren't common in a Chopin recital. His interpretations feel as though he's in conversation with the music, not obeying it. He takes liberties with rubato, re-articulates inner voices, and often reshapes harmonic tension in real time. Some may see it as too eccentric for a competition setting, but that's exactly his strength. You can't mistake Strata for anyone else. He's creating a signature Chopin dialect, and in a contest of clones, that stands out. Coming in at the last minute, William Yang Chang delivered one of the cleanest, most poised performances of the round. His technique is superb, a kind of precision that never feels mechanical because it's always married to sensitivity. Every attack is deliberate, every phrase sculpted with intent. What impressed me the most was how measured his control was under pressure. He never overplayed, never overpedaled, and yet the piano seemed to sing with the full range of his touch. The tonal gradations he produced, especially in quieter passages, were astonishingly refined. There's an elegance to his playing that feels both modern and traditional, the rhythmic integrity of a craftsman, and the expressive elasticity of an artist. Yang is one of those pianists who remind you that perfection can coexist with poetry. And finally, Tomoharu Ushida. I knew he was good from round 1, just didn't know he was that good. Ushida's round 2 performance was nothing short of revelatory. The middle section of the second movement in the B-flat minor sonata was transformative, sung bel canto with the softest dynamic imaginable, with voicing so precise that every inner line shimmered like counterpoint in motion. The balance between voices, the depth of sound even in pianissimo, and the emotional restraint, all of it pointed to a pianist who understands that control can be its own form of poetry. The scherzo that followed was a perfect paradox, percussive yet lyrical, macabre yet dancing, was full of nervous energy but never rushed, every accent placed like a heartbeat. Honestly, one of the best second movements of this sonata I've ever heard. Maybe it's recency bias, but this interpretation has that rare quality that lodges itself in memory, something you'll keep revisiting just to feel that same atmosphere again. The middle section of the funeral march was breathtaking, crystalline, melodic, with trills that seemed to hover midair. The tempo was judged to perfection, neither sentimental nor cold, but exactly where the music speaks. The finale flowed with incredible fluidity. The dynamic range felt organic, and the phrasing was so naturally shaped that it almost disguised how difficult it really is to pull off that illusion of wind and shadow. And his prelude number 20, that was the finishing touch. Under his hands, it became a landscape painting. Broad, dignified, full of tone, color, and gravity. This wasn't just technical mastery, it was artistry that combined intellect and soul in perfect proportion. As of round 2, I might say he's the most likely frontrunner. In conclusion, round 2 has been the most musically revealing stage of the competition so far. We've seen the repertoire expand, the personalities sharpen, and the narratives start to form. Some competitors reinforced the promise they showed in round 1, while others were quietly and in some cases brutally filtered out. At this point, we're starting to see a clearer divide between those who can play Chopin and those who become Chopin. The best performances this round weren't about speed or volume, they were about identity, about how much of themselves they're willing to reveal through the music. If round 1 was about potential, round 2 was about conviction. Pianists like Yanyan Bao, Tomoharu Ushida, Tianyao Lyu, and Hyuk Lee now feel like the emotional center of this year's competition. Each of them in their own way channels a kind of poetic authority that makes you stop listening as a critic and start listening as a believer. On the other hand, the precision players, Kevin Chen, Chang, Kwonwook Lee, continue to remind us that perfection can also be its own form of expression. Whether that translates into something transcendent or sterile is for the next round to decide. But I'll say this, don't be surprised if no first prize is awarded this year. Round 3 will be the real test, where consistency meets character and technique finally has to serve the soul. Who are your standouts and who am I missing? Please let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you after round 3.